This is Shot Recap, and you're watching The Deep Dark. A group of regular miners stumbles upon an ancient tomb buried deep underground, but after a cave-in traps them 1,000 meters below the surface, they begin to suspect it's not a resting place. It's a prison for something truly terrifying. The movie opens in the year 1856. Deep inside a coal mine, workers are hard at it digging out valuable minerals. With them is a special little bird, used to detect gas leaks before it's too late. To lighten the workload, the miners sing together a tune that helps them swing their picks as much as lift their spirits. One of them breaks through a wall and notices the bird is dead. Someone shouts, "Gas!" and everyone backs away from the opening. Not smelling anything unusual, they call in an old, soot-covered miner wise and blackened enough to blend in with the coal itself. He crawls into the opening, using a lit candle on a long pole to check for gas deeper in the cave. But instead of gas, he spots an enormous, clawed hand. Dropping the candle in shock, he scrambles back in terror. A moment later, gas floods the tunnel, and the mine explodes. The story jumps to Morocco, 1956. A young man named Amir rides in the back of a truck with a friend, headed to a recruitment site where a mining company is hiring new workers. For the locals, it's a rare chance to make a better living. The candidates are lined up in a courtyard and told to strip down so the recruiter can inspect their physical condition. A society without color codes is meaningless here, so the men mark recruits with different colors: red for rejects, green for those who pass. Amir's friend gets a red mark because of a cough, and Amir receives the same, but his natural boldness and desperate need for money push him to snatch the stamp and mark himself with green instead. Impressed by his nerve, the recruiter decides to hire him, stamping his forehead with the official seal. At the same time, a scientist named Professor Berthier arrives at the mine. He walks among the workers, trying to find the site manager, but the manager spots him first and leads him through the industrial buildings to his office. The professor is here for a deep expedition down 1,000 meters to collect soil samples, but the miners need 2 weeks to dig that far. Pressed for time, the professor offers the manager a bribe cash in an envelope to speed things up. The manager agrees, but says it'll still take at least a week. Suddenly, an alarm sounds. A wounded miner is being brought up from below. The manager and Berthier rush to the lift, where nurses receive a man with a badly injured leg, rescued from a collapse by his foreman, Roland. The professor insists that Roland should lead the expedition. The manager calls Roland into his office to explain the task: escort the tourist down below. He places the professor's money on the table, a bonus for the crew. The foreman reluctantly agrees. Amir is assigned to replace the injured worker and meets the rest of the team in the locker room. Before their first descent, Roland gives the rookie a quick rundown and assigns the slick-talking Luis to show him the ropes. The crew heads off for their shift. On the way, Amir looks around the facility with curiosity until they squeeze into the tight lift cage. They move through the tunnels, making their way toward a rock wall with openings that need to be drilled deeper. The crew gets to work chipping away at the rock with pickaxes, shaking the walls with jackhammers, and hauling debris off in carts. When Paul's headlamp burns out, Amir is sent to get a replacement. Wandering through the tunnels, the young man runs into a co-worker and a white horse. The beast works the mine too. During lunch, Roland spots cheese in Amir's bag and points out that a rat already got to it. The miners actually get along with the rodents like the birds. They're early warning signs of danger. After tossing the spoiled cheese to the rat, the foreman advises Amir to hang his bag higher next time and hands him an apple for lunch. That's how his first day on the job ends. Amir barely manages to take a shower afterward. On the next shift, Professor Berthier joins them. He carries a journal for notes and a flash camera to document his thrilling journey to the center of the earth. Through narrow, dark corridors, they reach the spot where the miner will set explosives to blast a path deeper down to the target depth. After creating a technical opening, the men peer inside. Roland doesn't like that the professor is hiding information. He has a map of the lower tunnels. The foreman throws the journal into the shaft, forcing the scientist to be the first to climb down the rope. Besides the book, they find ancient man-made tunnels below. As the rest of the miners descend, Roland shares the story of a crew that died here 100 years ago. A fire broke out, and they never made it out. Their bodies were never found. The passage on the lower level was blocked by debris, and no one has gone down there since. As they explore, Professor Berthier breaks away from the group. Noticing he's missing, Roland orders a search. They can't afford to lose the tourist. Wandering through the corridors, the workers examine the smooth walls, clearly built with skill. At a fork in the tunnels, they split into 2 groups. Amir goes with Luis and Santini. they discover the remains of one of the lost miners. Despite Amir's protests, his co-workers rummage through the skeleton for anything valuable. In the hand with shattered bones, they find a strange-shaped stone and take it with them. Amir spots a blood-written message on the wall, warning about some creature lurking in the darkness. Lewis interrupts the reading, joking around with the skeleton. The three continue searching for the professor, but instead find the rest of their team. They watch the camera's flashes. Berthier is photographing something ahead. Annoyed, Roland sneaks up behind Berthier and puts him in a chokehold to get his attention and lay down a simple truth. Underground, he's in charge, and disobedience won't be tolerated. Amir notices ancient inscriptions on the walls that spark his curiosity. The professor believes the real reason for his visit lies beyond that wall. He asks the miners to break through it, and Roland reluctantly agrees, after first making sure there's nothing dangerous on the other side. The miner sets the dynamite, and moments later, a passage opens in the wall. The miners enter a chamber filled with stone columns and mysterious cave inscriptions. With Amir's help, the professor collects samples, believing them to be thousands of years old. While exploring, the workers come across piles of human remains. Skeletons lie scattered on the floor among ancient weapons and shields. Swords crumble to dust right in their hands from age. It's likely a tomb. On a stone pedestal stands an ornate sarcophagus, carved with long arms and a massive head. Berthier believes this creature was once worshipped as a deity, but practical Roland doesn't like being in a crypt. Gathering the team, they head back to the opening where the engineer has already built a wooden ramp and even guided the horse down it. Suddenly, the animal starts acting strange and bolts into the darkness, as if terrified of something. Either the horse sensed something, or its hooves caused a rumble, but suddenly cracks appear along the walls, triggering a collapse. The ceiling around the escape hole caves in. A wooden bridge falls right onto Santini's legs, breaking them. The evening quickly turns chaotic, and the foreman loses his temper. He blames the professor for what happened, though the facts don't support it. While they set the injured man's bones, Amir is sent to find the rest of the crew. He locates the bald miner in the tomb, where they're trying to open a coffin, but they can't get it open. Amir notices a strange hole on the coffin lid and fits the stone they found earlier into it. The key activates, releasing the locks holding it shut. The miners push the lid off and see not only a body wrapped in a shroud inside, but also piles of precious gems. They stuff their pockets with the jewels. As the young man tries to leave, Luis beats him, threatening to kill him if he tells anyone. Terrified, Amir runs off while Luis urinates on the skeletons of the ancient warriors. Polo divides the gems into several shares, not forgetting to set aside some for their injured teammate who won't be able to work for a while. Luis lights a cigarette, despite Polo's warning that there might be flammable gas nearby. As they split the loot, a hand with incredibly long fingers emerges from the coffin. The creature lying inside rises, catching the attention of the startled treasure hunters. Panicked, the miners race down the corridor and rush back to the rest of the crew. The injured engineer points at Polo. Behind him, long fingers appear. The creature grabs the man and drags him into the darkness at incredible speed. The crew follows after their comrade. They find a dropped bag and a trail of blood. The trail leads to a hanging, headless miner with a ripped open stomach. Then the professor, who had fallen behind, shows up. An angry miner blames him for what happened. Roland asks what he knows about it. Berthier explains they're dealing with traces of an unknown ancient civilization that offered human sacrifices to the god from the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus itself turned out to be even older. Amir suggests that this isn't a tomb, but a prison. He thinks they should head back to the collapse to avoid running into the monster. Suddenly, Luis remembers the injured Santini was left alone, and the workers rush back. Santini, lying down, uses the professor's camera to light up a long corridor ahead. At one point, a monster appears out of the darkness and grabs a man. His co-workers run into the creature in the corridor, where it's holding the captive with several arms at once. The monster slashes open Santini's stomach with its claws, then drops him and disappears into the darkness. Santini dies in the foreman's arms. The survivors decide they need to trap the unknown creature. They plan to use the remaining dynamite for the attack. The miners return to the lair, the coffin chamber. Professor Berthier studies the inscriptions on the columns, trying to piece together the backstory. Amir, showing a knack for languages, helps him out. They manage to figure out how to navigate the maze of corridors to find an exit. The crew follows the professor's directions, but instead of an exit, they discover a prison filled with cells housing countless skeletons. Berthier believes these were volunteers who offered themselves as sacrifices. They press on and come across fresh blood smeared on the walls and pillars. The blood trail leads Berthier and Amir to a room where the escaped horse lies with its belly torn open. Taking advantage of the others falling behind, Berthier pulls a lever that seals the passage with a massive stone. He explains to Amir that the proletariat wants him dead because he started the expedition. While the miners struggle to move the stone, the professor studies the wall inscriptions. He concludes that the monster isn't just a vicious creature, it's a harbinger of an even greater evil, the awakening of the sleeping Cthulhu, whose coming was foretold by the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazret. As they prepare to leave, the horse's body stirs. From its entrails, the monster rises. Berthier tells Amir to stay still and approaches the creature, openly expressing admiration. The professor embraces the monster, but it breaks his bones in response. Panicked, Amir runs to the sealed exit. The miners on the other side barely manage to roll the stone away in time to save him, and Amir just barely grabs the professor's journal before escaping. Still adrenaline-fueled, Amir accuses Luis of threatening the professor. He also tells them about the tomb robbery, which sparked their grim situation. Roland checks Luis's bag, nearly beating him, and takes the jewels to give to the families of the dead. Amir leads the team further through the tunnels, using the late Berthier's notes to navigate their way out. Reaching a fork, they hear strange noises and turn off their lights to stay hidden. The monster appears on stilts. It slashes a miner's throat and drags the body away, while Amir panics and runs off. The young man hides around a corner, where Roland finds him. Together, they search for a way out. On the way, Amir explains they can't just run. They have to stop the monster so it doesn't escape and bring about the end of the world. But the foreman isn't interested. He just wants to survive. The clues lead them to a room filled with remains of miners trapped 100 years ago. Nearby lies a notebook. According to it, there's a vertical shaft somewhere they used to drop victims for the creature, and it could be their way out. Amir realizes the clues must be read right to left, following Arabic tradition. They're about to head out when the monster's claw grabs Amir's leg and drags him into the darkness. Left alone, Roland makes his way toward the exit. He finds the shaft, beneath which lies a massive pile of bones, and climbs over them to escape. Amir ends up inside a strange, ancient structure filled with graves. He steps into a throne room where the bones of victims smolder on a lava fire pit. Sitting on the throne is the creature. It uses Luis's severed head to speak to Amir. The monster wants Amir to help it get outside, promising to grant him the power of a god in return. Realizing this would mean disaster for humanity, Amir pretends to want to embrace the creature, but instead stabs it in the leg with a spearhead he found earlier. He bolts down the corridors and manages to reach the infamous shaft where victims were dumped. Amir climbs into the hole just as Roland's hand reaches down. The foreman has been waiting for him, rigging the escape route with explosives. They crawl upward toward the exit, but below, the vile creature is right on their heels. Roland gets ready to detonate the charge as the monster closes in, but he forgot the key to the detonator down below, in a crevice with the explosives. Amir, crawling second, climbs down with the detonator to grab the key and arm the device, fully aware he won't reach a safe distance in time. The young man inserts the key and hurriedly sets the detonator just as the monster catches up to him. Suddenly, the foreman's hand lands on his shoulder. Roland has come down too. Together, they arm the detonator, and when the monster reaches the dynamite, they trigger it. An explosion rocks the mine shaft, and that's where the movie ends.